In the heart of the old town of Ravenswood stood an abandoned mansion known as Blackthorn Manor. Its Gothic architecture, with spires that seemed to pierce the sky and windows that gazed like hollow eyes, made it a magnet for urban legends and ghost stories. The townspeople spoke of strange occurrences and eerie sounds emanating from the mansion, but no one dared to investigate. One crisp autumn evening, a group of college friends decided to explore Blackthorn Manor. Among them were Sarah, the skeptic, Mike, the thrill-seeker, Lisa, the sensitive one, and Tom, the history buff. Armed with flashlights and a sense of adventure, they made their way through the overgrown garden and up to the creaking front door. As they stepped inside, the air grew heavy with a musty scent of decay and disuse. The grand foyer, once opulent, was now draped in cobwebs and dust. Portraits of stern-faced ancestors lined the walls, their eyes seeming to follow the intruders. "Let's split up and cover more ground," Mike suggested, his voice echoing in the vast, empty space. Reluctantly, the group agreed. Sarah and Tom headed upstairs while Mike and Lisa explored the ground floor. As Sarah and Tom ascended the staircase, the steps groaned under their weight and the temperature seemed to drop. They found themselves in a long corridor with numerous doors, each leading to dark, foreboding rooms. In one of the rooms, they discovered an old journal, its pages yellowed with age. Tom, intrigued, began to read aloud. The journal belonged to Eliza Blackthorn, the last resident of the manor. It detailed her descent into madness, haunted by whispers and shadows that seemed to come alive at night. Meanwhile, on the ground floor, Mike and Lisa stumbled upon the dining room. The long table was set as if for a feast, though the food was long gone and the silverware tarnished. As they moved deeper into the room, a cold breeze swept through, extinguishing their flashlights. Panic set in as they fumbled to relight them. When their lights flickered back on, they saw the shadows on the walls moving independently of any light source. The shadows seemed to whisper, their voices unintelligible but filled with malice. Lisa clutched Mike's arm, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to find the others and get out of here," she whispered. Upstairs, Sarah and Tom continued reading the journal, unaware of the danger. Eliza's final entries were frantic, speaking of a malevolent entity that fed on fear and despair. She mentioned a hidden room in the basement where the entity was supposedly bound. Suddenly, they heard footsteps approaching, but when they turned, no one was there. The shadows on the walls began to dance and shift, forming grotesque shapes. Sarah and Tom exchanged a terrified glance and bolted back down the stairs. Reunited, the group shared their experiences, their faces pale with fear. Tom insisted they find the hidden room in the basement to uncover the truth and perhaps put the spirit to rest. Reluctantly, the others agreed. Navigating through the dark, they found the basement door and descended into the depths of the manor. The air grew colder, and the whispering shadows seemed to gather around them, growing bolder. In the center of the basement, they discovered a locked door, its surface covered in strange symbols. Using a rusted key they found nearby, they unlocked the door. Inside, they found a small chamber with a single item, an ornate mirror covered in a heavy cloth. As Tom approached, he felt a compulsion to remove the cloth. When he did, the mirror revealed not their reflections, but a swirling abyss of darkness. The shadows from the walls converged into the mirror, their whispers becoming screams. The room shook, and the friends felt a powerful force pulling them towards the mirror. Realizing the entity was trying to trap them, Sarah screamed, "We have to destroy it." Mike, grabbing a broken piece of wood, smashed the mirror. The glass shattered, and with it, a deafening wail filled the air. The shadows dissipated, and the oppressive atmosphere lifted. The friends, shaken but alive, fled the manor as dawn broke. They never spoke of that night again, but the whispers of Blackthorn Manor continued to haunt their dreams, reminding them of the malevolent entity they had faced. And though the mirror was destroyed, the shadows of Blackthorn Manor were never truly gone, waiting patiently for the next group of curious souls to venture inside. Years passed, and Blackthorn Manor remained untouched, a monument to its dark past. The townspeople continued to share their ghost stories, each one more chilling than the last. Some said they saw flickering lights in the windows at night, while others claimed to hear faint, eerie melodies carried on the wind. One rainy evening, a paranormal investigation team arrived in Ravenswood, determined to uncover the secrets of Blackthorn Manor. The team consisted of Jason, the leader, Emily, the tech expert, Rachel, the medium, and David, the cameraman. They had heard the tales and were eager to document any supernatural activity. As they set up their equipment in the foyer, Rachel immediately sensed a presence. "There's something here," she said, her voice trembling. "Something angry." Jason nodded, his expression serious. "Let's start with a walkthrough and see what we find." They moved through the manor, their flashlights casting long shadows on the walls. In the library, Emily set up a motion sensor and a digital recorder. "If there's anyone here, please make yourself known," she called out. The room remained silent, but the air seemed to grow colder. David captured every moment on his camera, the lens focusing on the dark corners of the room. "This place gives me the creeps," he muttered. In the dining room, Rachel felt a chill run down her spine. "The energy here is different. It's darker." She closed her eyes, trying to connect with the spirits. Suddenly, she gasped. "I see shadows. They're moving." Jason turned to her, concern etched on his face. "Shadows? Like the ones in the stories?" Rachel nodded. "Yes, but they're not just shadows. They're entities. They're trapped here, bound to this place." Emily's motion sensor went off, and the digital recorder picked up a faint whisper. "Get out," it said, barely audible but unmistakable. The team exchanged uneasy glances. "Maybe we should leave," David suggested, his voice shaking. But Jason was determined. "No, we need to find out what's keeping them here. Rachel, can you lead us to where you feel the strongest presence?" Rachel led them to the basement door. "It's down here," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Something powerful." They descended into the basement, their flashlights revealing the same strange symbols on the walls. At the far end, they found the shattered remains of the mirror, its shards glinting in the dim light. Rachel knelt beside the broken glass. "This was a portal," she said, "a gateway to the other side. Destroying it didn't free the spirits. It trapped them here." Jason frowned. "Then how do we set them free?" Rachel closed her eyes, concentrating. "We need to perform a cleansing ritual. We need to release their spirits." Emily set up more equipment, including candles and incense, while Jason and David cleared a space in the center of the room. Rachel began to chant, her voice steady and strong. The air grew heavy, and the shadows on the walls seemed to writhe and twist. As the ritual continued, the temperature dropped further, and the candles flickered. The whispering grew louder, filling the room with a cacophony of voices. Rachel's chanting grew more intense, and the shadows began to converge on the shattered mirror. Suddenly, a powerful force knocked them all to the ground. The room shook, and the shadows swirled around them, forming a vortex. Rachel continued to chant, her voice unwavering despite the chaos. With a final, thunderous crash, the shadows were sucked into the vortex, and the room fell silent. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, and a sense of peace settled over the basement. Rachel opened her eyes, exhausted but relieved. "It's done," she said. "They're free." The team emerged from the basement, their faces pale but determined. They had faced the darkness of Blackthorn Manor and emerged victorious. The spirits were at peace, and the manor was finally at rest. As they packed up their equipment and left the mansion, the rain stopped, and the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds. Ravenswood would always have its legends, but the whispers of Blackthorn Manor had been silenced at last.